Hi, Ron Savelo here with a demonstration of the newest version of Reportmaster 7 Classic. This is the welcome screen when you first open up the program. And I'm not going to go through every detail of the program. If you want to get more detail on each of these buttons, for example, you can go to this website. The website's reportmaster.com, and under reportmaster.com you can click on support and go to the RM7 training videos, and that'll take you to this page here, and you can watch some additional videos if you'd like to get more details on how the system works. But for now, what we're going to do is going to go through the program relatively quickly, and I'm going to show you basically how a narrative and then a follow-up SOAP note is done. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is go into a patient's chart that's already in the system, and we're going to go into their initial visit. So you click on the date, hit OK, and that brings you to the first of the chart screens. This is where you'll enter if it's a motor vehicle accident, you'll enter all the details here. Just check off whatever applies, and anytime you see one of these spaces here with one of these auto codes buttons, you can do a number of things. You can either just type something that applies to this particular visit and this particular patient, or if you have Windows 7 or 8, or if you have drag and dictate, you can use the voice recognition software component of Windows, and also the handwriting recognition component of Windows. So you can use voice, you can use handwriting, or you can use these auto codes. Now there's about 500 of these that come with the system, and some for each one of these different boxes. For example, right here you have an address box. You hit the auto codes, you'll see addresses here, and you can add your own addresses into the system. Alright, but again, if you want to learn more about autocodes, you can go and watch an autocode video. We got about 4 or 5 videos specific to autocodes, and it's an extremely powerful feature. Alright, so what I'm going to do is go through this. As you can see from the screen, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just check off the items that apply to the patient, and we have matching forms that go with this, like intake form, for example, that a patient can fill out. That'll match up with these pages here. Add in any history. For example, let's say we have a situation where a patient states they had not had prior symptoms similar to the current complaints. Say my history has not contributed to my current symptoms. And then you can enter whatever you want in these text boxes here. Prior treatment, social history, etc. I'm just going to throw a couple of things in here. Let's see, Dr. James Jones, specialty. These pull-down menus, you can add or delete things that are already in the pull-downs. Alright, that's all we're going to put there. Then we have the patient review system section. Pretty comprehensive number of items here. When we have a matching form that goes with this also, the patient can fill out, which is editable also. And I'm just going to check a few of these off here. Alright, that's all we're going to do for right now. We go to the subjective complaints. Under the subjective complaints, you have up to 8 different current symptoms, and then we have an activities of daily living assessment. So we'll leave this the way it is. The first three symptoms, and 4th, 5th, and 6th is basically the same. 7th, 8th. You have a section here for doctor's notes that do not appear in the reports, and this will be applicable to each individual visit or chart. Whereas back here under the history, you have a section down here that is general data you can put in there that won't appear in the report that applies to this patient. Alright, anywhere you see one of these text boxes, by the way, if you want to expand it, you just double click on it and it'll open up to the full screen. So even though some of these are relatively small, you can always just double click it. And again, when you do open it, this also works with drag and dictate or Windows 7 and 8 voice recognition as well as handwriting recognition. Alright, so let's go on to Activities of Daily Living. And on this one here, if you double click on any of these boxes, it brings up this scale of difficulties, and you just click the ones that apply. And just make sure you're using the right color for the right boxes here. In this case, we're going to use this tan color. And you're just going to enter numbers in here. And if you want, if you know what the numbers stand for, you can also just type them in. Alright, and same thing down here. Except you use these green ones here. And again, there's additional text box down here. Alright, so let's go to the objective section. Under objective, we have the first screen is the general physical exam. And that includes deep tendon reflexes, various items having to do with weight, height, temperature, etc. Let's put something in here. Alright, you have blood pressure, left and right side, lungs normal, heart normal, cranial nerve exam down here, visual inspection, alright, no evidence of that, atrophy. And then we go to the next one, which is spinal range of motion. And if you're using an AMA protocol, you need to do 3 sets of tests for each, flexion, extension, etc. If not, even if you're just eyeballing it, you can use this over here, the short form. Alright, and you have your lower extremity range of motion down here, upper extremity down here. Next tab is muscle and neurologic testing sections. Let's just throw some more muscles here. This is the same type of thing. Just double click on the box and it brings up the, in this case, 4th edition AMA guides and 3rd edition guides down here. But basically it's the no contraction to active movement against gravity with full resistance. Alright, we have some pathologic reflex tests here. And in this case, if you want to see what this test, the description of this test is, you double click on this bar up here, how the test is done, what it indicates, etc. And that description also can be printed in the report by clicking on this X here, or the D rather. And the DX is this part of the sentence right here, which is a pathologic reflex of the head, which when present indicates possible ipsilateral corticospinal tract disease as seen in blah 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 blah. So that part of the sentence right there is what the DX prints out. The D prints it out from here. The sign is present when counter pressure, etc., down to backward. If you left D and DX unchecked, it would simply say platysma sign, comma, was present bilaterally. And that's it. All right, so a lot of doctors like to use the description, particularly in the initial report. All right, we get some brachial plexus, peripheral nerve tests, lumbosacral, etc. And then down here we have sensory. So let's check off pinwheel pressure. Go into this first area, and again you can double check this. Brings up this chart, and we're going to go with spinal nerve 5 or T1, and that goes in here. And then double click on that and decrease sensibility, and we'll go left and right and pain. That's all we do for that. Then we go to the orthopedic testing. Go to 100 tests here. Let me do a couple more here. That's all we'll do right now. Spinal lesion test, sacroiliac sciatic lesion test, disc and soft lesion test, etc. And when you've entered data into any of these, there will be a check mark showing. So when you come back into this page next time, you'll see, as you can see here, anything that has data has a check mark, so you know which ones have data filled in. All right, next one is X-ray evaluation section. And these are some type of X-rays. Let's say we did the X-ray test back here. Which tests were done. All right, so we have down here we have disc narrowing, osteophytosis, biomechanics alterations, etc. And again, like on most pages, you have a text box down here where you can add something very specific to this patient or in this visit, or you can use a more generalized auto code. And one nice thing about the auto codes is you can add the patient's name, exam date, study date, etc. into the body of text here using these special symbols, and it'll automatically insert the patient's name, etc. into that piece of text when it comes out in the report. All right, so now we'll go to palpation, assessment, treatment, and care plan. Check, enter some data in some of these palpation areas here. Now this is what's called a palpation scale, which you can edit, delete items from, add your own items. And in these boxes here, you can use one or more. And it'll automatically combine those three into one sentence. And over here you have your modalities. So you can either check the ones that apply and or use this modality list here and enter some into this tan box here. You got to click on the spot that you want to add these codes to, and then just double click. And the same thing with this treatment goals. Just check off the ones that apply. And here's assessment diagnosis. First visit, favorable results are expected for this patient. And again, you can just check off anything that applies, as well as adding anything into prognosis, for example. Let's use a code here. Let's use this one right here. We'll just double click on it. Puts the code in, and then that, when it prints out in the report, it looks like this. And we'll do the same thing for diagnosis. And then down here we can put some ICD codes in here. Alright, so now we go to the future care, and we've already got some things in here. And now closing comments. Let's say we want to put this piece of text regarding chronic pain, and we'll do this MD referral code here. This would be in the event that you're sending this to the patient's primary doctor. So we'll put that in there, and we're going to say this is a relief care phase. We're going to treat twice a week for 7 weeks. In the future treatment, again, we can just pick some of these or use the modality list. Purpose of decreasing pain, etc. And that is going to cover the initial. So we're going to go main menu, write a report from a chart, click the initial, click down here, narrative report, and hit OK. Now it's going through all the chart screens, and it's extracting all the raw data and creating it into a report with all the correct grammar, spelling, etc. Now if you've added your own things to it, you can obviously use the spell checker, but basically we have an extremely comprehensive report here. Accident description, and as you can see, I'll stretch this out a little bit. As you can see, you can move back and forth through the video to read this if you'd like, but it's a pretty thorough report. Initial complaints, historical data, subjective complaints, activities of daily living, and you have your objective, which includes the general physical exam, range of motion, and anything you want to edit, by the way. This its own word processor, so if you do want to edit something, like adding a carriage return or whatever, you can do that. Now if you'd like to, neaten up a little bit, and your orthopedic evaluation, cervical lesion tests, and all the other ones that we checked off. X-ray studies. And the palpation evaluation. And we get into the assessment, diagnosis, current treatment, prognosis, future care plan, present care phase, future treatment plan, goals of treatment, and then closing comments. And if you want, you could add your electronic signature, and all you have to do is hit File and Save. As soon as you do that, what it does is it creates a folder on the hard drive for that patient under the number that you gave the patient when you first entered the patient. It'll give this particular report a name, what type of report, the exam date. All right, I'm going to close it. Now if you want to get back into the report, you would click on that patient and then click this button down here, the yellow button. And this is a listing of all the reports you've done on this particular patient. And let's see, this is the one we just did, revised on 9/30. Double click on it, and it brings it right back up. And this is just a regular word processor. It's not as sophisticated as Word for Windows, but there's still things in the Word for Windows that I haven't used yet after 25 years. But this word processor is definitely adequate, and you can print it out from here. It's got a lot of the things that Microsoft Word has. All right, so I'll close that. Now we're going to go back in and do a SOAP note. And once you get to know where everything is in the program, we have doctors that tell us they get a SOAP note done in 10 seconds. You're going to create a new visit chart. I've already done that. And we're going to go into that second chart here. And if you want to change anything on this page here, I'm going to click this Copy Last Visit button. Normally you're not going to have the accident description on every subsequent SOAP note, so you can eliminate that by clicking this button up here. Clear all injury accident onset data only. Alright, so if there's anything you want to change here, like for example make it a progress note rather than initial. Let's say you want to, maybe you don't want to leave off this data here. And that's about it. The opening remarks we'll take out. So from this point here, we can just jump to the daily SOAP note screen. And just so you know, if you want to have something in a SOAP note that's not in the daily SOAP note screens, you can certainly do that. Like if you want to maybe do another objective test of some kind and you want it to appear in the SOAP, then you can do that. Anything you check off on any of these screens will come out in the SOAP note. But most doctors, all they really need is these three buttons here. The subjective complaints, which as you can see are carried from the prior visit. Again, all you have to do is hit copy all last visit's data. In addition to those, you can add, has the complaint improved a bit, improved a lot, etc. We'll say it improved a bit. And the pain scale is, say it's 4, and this has come down a little bit to some effect as opposed to serious, and it's worse in the afternoon hours. And this one's gotten a little bit worse. Pain scale 3, and it's worse in the evening hours. And this last one improved a lot. Pain scale is 1, not affecting, some effect, and then it's in the morning. Then you go to the next one. Again, if there's something in the last visit, you can just click this one and bring it in. In this case, it's not, so we're going to go cervical. Passive range of motion was within normal limits. Passive range of motion was slightly decreased in the thoracic with some pain, and then moderately decreased in the lumbar with pain and spasm. And palpation in the cervical, there's tenderness and subluxations and malpositions. Then here you can say C7, T1 to T2, bilaterally, moderate pain, mild biomechanical alterations, and moderate hypertonicity. And the treatments for that included chiropractic manipulation, hot packs, and some acupuncture. And we'll go with that for right now. You have a lot of other options over here if you want to have, other than the spine, you can use these spaces over here, free modalities, and palpation up here. If you want to put some general stuff in here, in the cervical area, for example, you can do that as well. Say we did some hot packs, massage therapy, mechanical traction, cervical area. All right, then we go to the treatment assessment. I'm going to go with the bringing anything in from the last visit, but we're going to not do some of these. Let's see. Everything else be the same. And we're going to go to therapeutic rehabilitative care phase. The rest can stay the same for right now. Alright, that's it. So we'll go back. And again, you don't have to produce these reports every time you enter data. A lot of our doctors just keep entering data, and then at some point you can actually generate all the reports at once if you need them. Alright, but at least you have the data in here, and it's always there ready to produce reports. So I am going to produce this report here, this progress note. Click on the correct date, write a SOAP note or re-exam, hit OK. And there's the SOAP note. Again, extremely comprehensive. You can include as much or as little data as you want. But with Report Master, no adjuster is going to tell you there wasn't enough data. And all the reports and notes are very well written, grammatically correct, and you'll find they need very little, if any, editing. Alright, so that's Report Master 7 Classic, and I hope I've given you enough data to get an idea how the system works. Thanks for watching.